heart beats once. Then it beats again just as steadily, exactly as it always has beat after endless, relentless beat. Nobody in that room ever thinks twice about it. Each and every beat pushes blood upward, fighting a war it has fought since birth. Gravity has always been the one relentless enemy in that particular war. The heart has never lost that fight, not once, not for a single second. That same steady beat is about to walk into a war with no enemy left. Gravity disappears in orbit. The heart never learns that. It pushes full strength against nothing at all. Roughly 70% of the human body is fluid moved unevenly by gravity. On Earth, that pull drags most of it down into the legs and lower abdomen. The heart and blood vessels work continuously just to keep blood reaching the brain properly. That's simply the baseline quiet daily labor nobody ever consciously notices at all. The instant a spacecraft reaches orbit, that downward pull simply vanishes. Nothing inside the entire cardiovascular system gets a signal to adjust. No single valve resets ever. Same heart, same force, a completely different battlefield. The contraction strength stays exactly where Earth calibrated it, unchanged. Nothing resets. It's still pumping as if fighting gravity, the only setting it has ever known. Except now there's absolutely zero resistance pulling fluid back down in that direction. The push simply goes much further than intended, with nothing left to balance it. Research into this exact effect now spans decades of spaceflight medicine. NASA investigators describe fluid redistribution as starting the moment astronauts reach microgravity, not days later, hours, sometimes even less. Roughly 2 full liters of fluid shift within those first hours alone. Blood and interstitial fluid that would normally sit low in the body surge upward instead. Chest, neck, and head all receive fluid meant for the legs and lower abdomen. 2 liters is not a subtle shift. That's a genuinely large volume moving somewhere it was simply never designed to concentrate. The body has no immediate mechanism available to stop or slow that surge. 2 liters, straight upward, almost instantly. The heart's baroreceptors sit in the neck and chest, monitoring pressure constantly. Tiny sensors and huge consequences. On Earth, these sensors evolved specifically to track blood pressure against gravity's pull. They expect one certain baseline reading calibrated over the entire course of human evolution. Remove gravity and that baseline reading shifts dramatically within hours. The sensors themselves haven't changed. Only the surrounding environment feeding them information has. That specific mismatch between sensor and environment drives nearly everything that follows. Old sensors, new environment. Nothing lines up anymore. Astronauts themselves gave this condition a nickname, puffy head bird legs, a remarkably accurate nickname, honestly. Faces swell and feel genuinely congested, uncomfortably similar to a bad head cold. Neck veins visibly distend, bulging outward in ways that look alarming on any camera. Legs thin out quite noticeably, at the same time fluid draining away from them entirely. The visible contrast between swollen upper body and shrinking legs is striking on camera. Photographs from orbit clearly show this transformation within the very first days of a mission. A swollen face, thinning legs, same body pulled 2 ways. Facial puffiness typically peaks within the first 48 to 72 hours of a mission, fast then slower. After that initial surge, the body slowly begins adapting somewhat to its new fluid balance. Some swelling persists for the entire mission, though it becomes noticeably less dramatic over time. Astronauts often describe the sensation as similar to sleeping with your head tilted downward. That specific feeling never fully goes away until the mission actually ends. Ground crews can often tell how long someone's been in orbit by their face alone. Peaks early, never fully fades. A visible clock on someone's face. Sensors near the heart monitor fluid volume, constantly reading pressure and stretch. A false alarm, essentially. Those same sensors suddenly detect far more fluid pooling in the upper body than usual. They misread that entire surge as total body fluid overload, not a simple redistribution. The body simply responds the way it would to genuine excess. It flushes fluid aggressively through the kidneys, trying to correct a problem that doesn't exist. Plasma volume drops roughly 17% within the very first 24 hours in orbit, a misread signal, a drastic response, both within a single day. Vision changes accompany this fluid shift too, adding another layer of concern. Eyes of all things. Increased pressure slowly building around the optic nerve can distort vision in some astronauts. NASA calls this condition spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome, or SANS for short. Researchers still don't fully understand why some astronauts experience this and others don't. The same fluid shift driving facial swelling may be pushing on delicate eye structures. One surge and several targets. Same fluid shift, different target, different consequence entirely. Total blood volume keeps falling steadily over the following days, not just plasma. Within just days, that overall blood volume drops somewhere around 10 to 11%. Less fluid circulating overall means less total volume the heart actually needs to move. Less resistance also means less work the heart muscle performs daily. Any muscle that stops working hard eventually loses mass. The heart is a muscle too. It begins to atrophy, losing roughly 1% of its mass per week. 1% every week, quietly for the entire mission. Astronauts undergo extensive cardiovascular testing, both before launch and throughout a mission. Constant checking. Doctors track heart rate, blood pressure, and fluid distribution on a nearly daily basis. Ultrasound scans reveal precisely how much the heart's shape and size are shifting over time. This ongoing monitoring helps flight surgeons catch dangerous trends before they become genuine emergencies. Every single data point eventually feeds back into how future missions get carefully planned. None of this monitoring existed during the earliest years of human spaceflight. Constant monitoring, constant adjustment. The body never stops being watched. Countermeasures exist, though none fully solve the underlying problem yet. Lower body negative pressure devices pull blood back toward the legs artificially. Astronauts strap into these devices on a regular schedule, essentially tricking their circulation temporarily. Compression garments serve a similar purpose, worn for hours during a fairly typical day. None of these tools eliminate the core issue, a heart still calibrated for an old world. They only manage the visible symptoms while the deeper mismatch continues quietly underneath. Managed, not solved. That's the honest summary. Female and male astronauts experience remarkably similar cardiovascular shifts in orbit. No real difference. Early spaceflight medicine actually expected men and women might respond quite differently to microgravity. Decades of actual flight data have now largely disproven that early expectation. The heart doesn't check gender before deciding how hard to keep pumping. It simply keeps applying that same Earth-calibrated force regardless of whose chest it sits inside. Physics turns out to be refreshingly indifferent to biology's usual variables here. Same mechanism. Every astronaut. Physics doesn't play favorites. That atrophy sets up a real problem for the eventual return to Earth's gravity, a weaker muscle, an old job waiting for it, unchanged. Gravity's pull comes back instantly upon re-entry, but heart strength doesn't return that fast. Blood pools right back in the legs again exactly like it used to before launch. The heart struggles now to push it back upward with its old force. Dizziness and fainting risk spike sharply during those first days back on solid ground. Weaker heart, old gravity, a dangerous mismatch. Longer missions reveal even more about this cardiovascular mismatch over time. Not just weaker, different shaped entirely. 6-month stays aboard the station show the heart's own shape gradually changing. The heart muscle can become slightly more spherical over time, losing its normal elongated shape. Reduced workload over several months allows the muscle to remodel in genuinely unexpected ways. Mars-length missions would push this remodeling even further into unknown territory. A changing shape, not just changing size. The heart adapts however it can. Animal studies aboard the station have helped researchers understand this process more precisely. Even rodents show it. Rodents sent to orbit show nearly identical fluid shifts and cardiac changes within just days. That consistency across different species suggests this response is deeply rooted in basic physiology. It isn't some strange quirk unique to human anatomy or human evolutionary history specifically. Any circulatory system built specifically around constant gravitational resistance would likely respond the same way. That specific mismatch is universal to gravity-adapted life, not just to us alone, not just humans. Any gravity-built system, the same overshoot everywhere. Picture someone who has spent years pushing hard against a stubbornly stuck door, years of practiced force. Their arm builds exactly the strength needed to overcome that one specific resistance. One day the door swings open with absolutely no warning at all. That same practiced push doesn't pause or soften on its own. It sends their entire body lurching forward, overshooting the doorway entirely. The heart's earth-trained push works exactly the same way once gravity disappears, and overshoot every single time. That's the actual mechanism at work. That overshoot is precisely the swelling everyone sees on an astronaut's face. Fluid concentrates exactly where it shouldn't, push there by force, still calibrated for Earth's gravity. Nothing about the heart itself is broken or malfunctioning in any way. It's simply doing the only job it has ever actually known how to do. The body around it is meanwhile scrambling to reinterpret a foreign situation. None of this is a flaw, not broken, just mismatched. That's the whole story. People tend to think removing gravity should make things easier for the body overall. An easy guess to make. No more fighting to pump blood upwards, so circulation should presumably relax into something calmer. That intuition feels perfectly reasonable, almost obvious right up until real physiology gets involved. The heart is a fixed-strength pump, not a system that recalibrates instantly. It doesn't relax simply because the resistance it built itself around suddenly vanished. Instead, it overshoots, and the body spends real effort correcting that overshoot. Relief was the myth. Overcorrection was the truth. Nothing about it felt easier. We tend to think the human body is simply built for Earth, full stop. Not quite true. This entire process reveals something considerably subtler than that simple idea ever allowed. The body isn't built for gravity's absence, and it isn't built for its presence either. It's calibrated for one very specific and unchanging value of gravity. Even removing resistance the heart has fought against its whole existence isn't freedom. It's a foreign condition the body actively misreads and struggles to correct in real time. A local exception, not a default state. That's what Earth's gravity really is.